Hey, everybody, and welcome to the For Female Founders podcast series, where we are helping women in business learn to thrive, not just survive. I am your host, Sarah Bundy, and today my guest is Tracey Lundell. Tracey is a senior investment advisor at Seaglass Wealth Advisory Group, part of Harborfront Wealth Management. With a chartered investment manager designation and a passion for community, he helps individuals, families, and business owners map out a life of yes by building, preserving, and maximizing wealth. Tracey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Appreciate you so much. I'm excited. Today we are going to be talking about financial foundations for female founders, basically how to build wealth while also building your business. You are the right person to talk to. You have a ton of years of experience in this. Can you start by telling us a little bit more about your background and how you got into being a wealth advisor? With Awin's marketing technology platform, you can easily discover the best partners who connect you with huge audiences of new customers. Understand how your partnerships are performing with intuitive reporting and only pay for the results you need. Start today and grow your own way with Awin.
Sure. It was kind of accidental, to be quite honest. I had quite a long career in banking. And I like to think that my entrepreneurial spirit took me all through that whole banking industry. I did so many jobs for so many different parts of the bank that it was kind of a wonderful way to get a nice broad experience. And it's super helpful now in terms of helping the clients that I help. So I've grew up in the retail bank, but I've worked for the insurance portion, the commercial banking portion, and currently the wealth, although no longer with the bank. I am now an entrepreneur myself. I know, exactly. So it's super exciting. But I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. So I think I've always had that desire to be autonomous and to be an entrepreneur. And I absolutely appreciate people who take that leap of faith and do that for themselves. So that all feeds into my background as well. I think the personal background, but also the corporate one. But it's been like over 30 years that I've been in the industry. But I bring kind of this odd breadth of experience, but it's helpful. It's helpful.
I'm sure it is. And what do wealth advisors with a specialization in entrepreneurship and your interest in women in business, especially, what do they do?
My goodness. I think the biggest thing that I do, or the thing that I'm most passionate about doing with my clients, is making sure that they are aligned, their businesses are aligned, those outcomes are aligned with what they want in their personal life. So I think the best thing that we can do is not about just accumulating money for the sake of having more money. Money itself doesn't make us happy. It doesn't do anything for us. It's only if we use it as a good tool to help deliver on the goals that we have for ourselves and our futures that it's a useful thing. So it's about that. It's about alignment. So making sure that your business is actually delivering the things and not taking you away from the things that are kind of your core values. So that's the thing I like to do. So I align kind of the personal side with the business side, and both need to grow for everybody to be successful. So that's the thing I get most excited about, is the planning related to that.
A great big thank you to our sponsors, PartnerStack. PartnerStack's ecosystem connects you to the world's largest B2B network for you to earn, connect, and grow. That's awesome. And how does your banking background help you with that advisory work and making decisions and guiding your clients in the right direction?
Well, I think that's kind of the cool part. A lot of wealth advisors have just like an investment background and maybe some planning as well. But having that hands-on experience doing mortgages. In fact, I did mortgages back when I had my own lending limit. So it didn't go to a credit center to get approved. I had to approve them for my branch. So it was a great training ground to really understand how credit can be used as a tool, which I think is something that especially female founders need to embrace a little bit more, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But I think having that knowledge is super helpful in the bank. Knowing all about cash management and the banking options that are available is helpful. Being at the commercial bank, understanding how to read financial statements and what the numbers like, demystifying it for people, because a lot of people just take their stuff to their accountant and don't really know what they're getting back, but hope that it looks good when they need to take it somewhere, but kind of understanding that and then linking it to, okay, how does this feed your kind of personal outcomes as well? So all of that experience just has really helped kind of bring it together on the wealth side. And then you just pair with that all the knowledge about the financial industry on the investment side too. And
So
tax
cool.
management. Oh my God, so many things.
All the things.
All the
Let's
things.
let's talk about, actually, I appreciate that you brought up accountants, because people need
Hmm.
accountants. Accountants are really important.
They are.
But a lot of people rely on their accountants to be their financial planners or their forecast planners. And that's actually not the job of an accountant. Very different skill set. My husband actually used a really great analogy because he's a CFO. He said,
Hmm.
oftentimes, if you want to simplify it, think of an accountant as a historian telling you what has historically happened. But then you need
Right.
someone who can look into the future and help you create these really solid succession plans or look at the different scenarios of what might happen. How do you see these things all fitting together? And if you were to describe an ideal structure for a female founder or an entrepreneur, if they had the most ideal
Like
finance,
team structure. Yeah.
what would that look like? Who would it include?
It would include accountants because I think you need that numerical historian on your team. So I think that they're super important for that. And they're very focused on the taxes and what it looked like for the last year.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the strategy piece, like that's the part that takes you forward. And I think that an advisor, often a financial advisor, but not all financial advisors do that kind of planning either. So you just have to really double check that you've got an advisor on your team that has that big picture perspective, because there's so many elements. Like saving tax in one particular year may not set you up for what you need to do if you need to borrow funds personally, maybe to get a mortgage down the road, or if you need, your business needs to borrow funds, you might need to show more of a profit, not just deduct every single thing under the sun so that you can pay less taxes. Like there's different financial goals. And I
Mhm.
think the best team is one that all talks to one another transparently and understands what the goals are of the other.
Mhm.
Like I talk to my teams with my clients, and it usually involves their lawyer. Not always, but sometimes, especially if there's going to be some organizational changes. Um, their accountant, absolutely. We talk to their accountants actually quite a bit, but definitely when they're preparing all their annual statements for them, and at tax time, we'll talk as well. So at least a couple times a year, we're talking to accountants. And sometimes a business coach, like if they've got a business coach as part of their team, that's a big part of future strategy. So we need to make sure that the financial side of things is also, everything's going to work hand in hand and nothing kind of in opposition to one another. So your ideal team is a group of people who's willing to have those open conversations with one another. And we don't always have the same perspective.
Mhm.
So people have to be willing to say like, hey, have you considered this? And here's why. I was thinking this angle would be, or this maneuver would be a better option than this one. So yeah, does that answer the question?
It does. It does.
Okay.
And I'd also say, because you're a wealth advisor, you're not
Mhm.
just advising on just business, you're not advising on past performance. You're a combination of personal, literally wealth development, and
Mhm.
all of the different moving variables that are going to impact that, which can include business.
Oh, it does include business.
Exactly. So tell us all,
Mhm.
what are all those variables that you look at as a wealth advisor?
Oh my goodness. So we wear a lot of hats. And sometimes we have to put the hats on at different times to kind of like, okay, if we're going to look at this whole scenario, let's look at it from a tax perspective. And what are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the benefits from a tax perspective? And that could be anything really. It could be comparing it to how it's going to impact your personal tax situation or the business, if it's deductions, how you pay yourself, all that kind of stuff. But it could also be if you're reorganizing the legal structures. Like we would never, we're not lawyers, we don't open new corporate accounts, or new corporate entities. We do open a corporate account, but not entities. So we'd wear a legal hat every now and then because we understand all of those entities, but we don't necessarily set them all up. And then there's like just cash flow and retirement planning.
Mhm.
Cash flow for a business and an individual currently, but also for the future. We actually call it, we don't really call it retirement planning anymore because retirement is kind of a myth now. People just kind of morph into different kinds of things and work maybe a little less and maybe on more projects that they like a little more. But especially entrepreneurs, we have a really hard time retiring. So we call it lifestyle income planning because
Like,
it does change.
I like
Lifestyle income planning. So we'll look at it from that, which is really about cash flow. And that involves having a spending plan and a savings plan. Again, both the business and the individual.
that. Mhm.
Goodness. And then we just look at investments too, investment management. What risks exist within a portfolio you might already have? What opportunities do you want to take advantage of going forward? What kinds of accounts should you be holding those assets in? What kind of registration? Do you need a holding company, or do you keep it in your own name? Like I it's such a long list that I would have a hard time narrowing it much further than that, other than to say kind of tax, strategy, cash flow, income planning. Like, it's kind of big picture things, but we're kind of like quarterbacks. Like, I think we don't necessarily execute on all of those plans. We need partners like accountants and lawyers and others to step in sometimes and help with elements of it, especially if it's a succession plan and maybe you're selling your business. Like, but we need to be a part of the strategy piece because we're the big long-term vision.
Yeah, and if you don't have a strategy, then a lot of things can go really badly.
Well, then you're just winging it, and then that's a little stressful.
Yeah. And you put yourself at risk if you have no plan and the right people to back you up.
Exactly.
Football teams don't do well when they don't have a quarterback. So.
Exactly. Quarterbacks are handy. So we'll throw the ball and other people can run with it sometimes, but at least we've kind of got a lay of all the things that are going on in front of us, and potential opportunities too that you don't want to miss.
I love that you actually brought up taxes. And it's kind of funny because a lot of entrepreneurs hear the word taxes and their eyes glaze over immediately. And either some people are like, oh, I hate taxes, I don't want to talk about it. Or they're just like, okay, I know I have to pay some taxes. And then it ends there. There is a lot that goes into understanding the benefits of tax planning. And there are a lot of variables that actually impact not only your business, but your personal wealth today and then next year and in the next 5 years.
Long term,
yeah. So let's actually break down taxes a little bit more, because I don't think people really realize how important it is and what the actual benefit of tax planning actually is. Can you talk about that for us?
I can, and I'm actually going to take the big picture perspective to start. You can actually get further ahead in your own kind of generating wealth, generating net worth by being tax efficient than I would argue with the investments that you choose to have. Like how you hold assets, what structure you hold them in, that's tax planning. Like, it doesn't seem like it would be, but you're doing it generally because there's some sort of, it's not the only benefit, but it's one of the benefits is the tax structure behind it. Do you have a holding company? Do you have an operating company? Are you a sole proprietor? There's other pros and cons to all of these things, but the tax planning that goes along with that is huge. I get so excited when people tell me they've got a corporate entity. I'm like, that's great. That opens up a whole window of things that we can do for tax planning that would never be. And people are so scared to open up corporate entities, or they think they have to hit a certain income threshold. And yes, you don't want to be like not making any money yet and open a corporate entity potentially, but I think people should do it sooner than they usually do, just because there's so much great benefit on the tax planning side of things. So I know I kind of went big and focused in, but those are the things that don't be scared to incorporate. If your business is growing, don't be scared. Have faith in your ability to keep growing. And that structure can help you. It can help you now. It can help you in retirement. It helps how you pay yourself today. And when you're not working actively anymore, it can actually supplement your income later too. So we love corporate entities and tax planning for those kinds of things.
So I'm actually going to break it down even further. I'm going to challenge you because, again, we don't want people to glaze over taxes.
No.
You just made the statement that you could potentially get further ahead in life with proper tax planning than in investing. That's a huge statement if you can do that.
I'm not saying that you wouldn't invest. I'm just saying when people focus solely on what they're invested in and whether you get an 8% return or a 12% return or that's important, and what your risk profile is. Obviously, that's important. That is bread and butter, what we do day in and day out. That being said, depending on your tax bracket, you might be in a 40% tax bracket. So if we can save you money on taxes, that could be multiple percents that we're returning on an annual basis based on just having a good, sound structure for your taxes. So that's kind of what I mean. It's not that one is not more important than the other, but I think you're missing an opportunity if you don't think about kind of the big picture now and going forward, because it's multiple percentages that we're talking about, not just whether I made 6, 8, 10, 12, even 20% in a portfolio, it's huge percentages that we're talking about that can be saved if you have an appropriate tax structure.
Yes, and to dumb it down even further, because I really just want to make sure this point is driven home.
Yes.
If we're doing proper tax planning, and you use the term tax efficiencies, we want to create
Yes.
tax efficiencies. The bottom line of this, guys, is you're basically saving a ton of cash that you now don't need to go pay to the government.
Yes, and you get it.
You get to keep this cash because you've done proper tax planning, and you can take all that cash and either keep it, invest it in something different,
or invest it in your business.
Exactly.
Grow your business even more.
Exactly. So this is why tax planning and tax efficiencies is so exciting and important, because it's literally money on the table that you get to keep if you do this right.
It is. It's all about the money that's in your pocket at the end of the day. If you can make some really good decisions that way, then you have more of it. Like, the whole point of accumulating wealth is, what are the different strategies to grow it? Well, here's a way that you can kind of supercharge it if you've got good tax strategies in hand.
Yeah. And so that's the type of thing that a wealth advisor would be doing, is saying, hey, based on the fact that you're maybe an LLC, or you're incorporated, or you're solo, or you're not incorporated, or you're a not-for-profit, or you're in this tax bracket, meaning you've earned a certain amount, how do you move money around to create that new delta of cash flow that now you get to keep because you've done it right?
And there's two strategies. There's a personal one too, and a business one. So and they have to play well in the sandbox.
Yeah, fair enough. That was great. I appreciate that very much. Let's talk a little bit about company structures, because is it a holding company? Do you have a trust? Are you incorporated? Can you just really dumb it down and tell us what is the difference between all of these things from a business perspective?
From a business perspective.
What do you think entrepreneurs should be thinking about if they're getting started? Maybe they're a new entrepreneur, maybe they're a first-time entrepreneur, even if they're more vet and they've done it for a few years. Maybe they've been doing 6 digits or trying to get to 7, or maybe they're in 7 digits trying to get to 8. What do you suggest they start thinking about right now in regards to the structure of the company? And is that even something they can change once they've already started something?
So that last piece is the clincher. It's harder to change things. It's not that it's impossible, but it's harder to change things once you're farther down a path, once you've created some of these entities and you've kind of got some history behind it. So I'm going to actually make it super simple. If you're just kind of getting started, I want you to think of what your business, you want it to be. I want you to think as if you're sitting in that seat and what the structure needs to be then. Because it doesn't mean you need to be operating at that level right from the beginning. But if you're going to incorporate, you want to have multiple sets of share structures that are in there. And the lawyer that helps you set it up will help you determine which kinds they have. But these entities, they're about ownership, they're about control. And yes, we've already talked about some of the tax benefits, but let's primarily talk about ownership and control and like profit sharing and that sort of thing. So if you think you're going to have employees and you want them to be able to participate in the profits, but they don't get to vote on what the company gets to do or not, you have to have a different class of shares for that. And I think the biggest, it's not a mistake. I just think we're not long-sighted enough that I see kind of newer entrepreneurs do, is they're just looking at what they need right now and not where they're headed. Because it'd be so much easier to have 4 or 5 different classes of shares with different voting rights and participation in profits rights and all those sorts of things. And that's where the lawyers can really help you narrow that down. But you have to go in with that future mindset. And that's the biggest challenge, is you have to be thinking about what you think it could be or what you want it to be, not necessarily what it looks like today, because it's way easier to set that up now than it is to change it later.
Yeah, and I'd also add in that if there are any people listening to this and they need a good corporate lawyer, whether it's in setting up your organization or preparing for an exit and making sure your structure is correct, please contact Athena Collective, because we have a wonderful group of multiple M&A lawyers in that group that are women who understand the business, who understand the challenges, and we can do intros for you guys.
And they'll understand that whole conversation that we just had with that question. But you also have to go in with that mindset of thinking, what do I want to be when I grow up? Or what do I want my company to be when it grows up? Because it's so much easier to set it up now than it is later. And there's other ownership structures. Holding companies hold assets. Operating companies, you operate a business. There's something being done there actively that receives compensation. So those are the big things. to think about. Those are the primary entities for sure. And then there's trusts. So there's all sorts of things that can exist, but corporations are the most common one with multiple share structures. So just think about what you want to be when you
Grow up.
grow up in your business. Yeah.
Love it. Let's talk a little bit about how people who are sort of in the weeds can get out of the weeds when they're growing a business. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, and I am very guilty of this myself because now this is my fifth company now. So I've built and sold or exited several companies. We tend to bootstrap. We tend to grind and grind, make money, put it all back into the business.
Yep.
So how do people who are building and growing their companies and investing everything back into their business or paying their bills get out of that? At what point should they start to diversify where they're putting their money so that they can actually build their wealth?
Again, from the beginning. And it just might not be at the same percentages as you can do it later, or the same dollar amounts. Because as your business grows, you might draw money from it differently. But it's important to make sure that the goals that you want out of your personal life, there's things that need to be funded there. Not everything can stay in the business for you to take advantage of some of the cool things that are available to grow your personal wealth as well. So I think they both need to grow. And maybe the attention that one gets is based on the stage of growth that your business is at too. Like if a business is in super growth mode, it probably needs a lot of investment. So it might take the heavier percentage of reinvestment funds available. But there will be times where there's opportunities to either pull money out, receive money differently from your business, but fund your personal life as well. Because there's personal tax benefits and savings benefits and investing for the future opportunities that are out there as well. And you just want to make sure that you have an opportunity to participate on both sides of the corporate and the personal world.
You said that you can take businesses and business owners can take money in different ways from your business. So maybe it's a salary, maybe
Right.
it's a dividend payout. What are all of the different types of payouts or options that a founder or an entrepreneur can design that they're receiving something back for them personally in different ways that are tax efficient or just are healthy for the company?
Yeah, are healthy for them. So an accountant is probably better to answer the multitudes of ways that you can take it out, because I'm not an accountant. However, the ones that we see most often, people can pay themselves dividends, or at least a portion of the income that they take out as dividends. It doesn't really impact the company. It's just money leaving the company, whether you pay yourself a salary or a dividend. It's more how it impacts you personally. So when we draw a salary, we pay income tax at the highest tax rates based on what our marginal tax rate is. But when you pull money out as a dividend, that's taxed differently and at a lower rate. So usually some combination is ideal. And again, it depends what you need in your personal life. There are going to be times where you need to draw some salary. Or if you want to pay into CPP, if you want the Canada Pension Plan to be a part of your future plan, you might have to pull some out as a salary and pay some premiums to CPP. But that's not always the case. So it's a really individual decision based on what your personal situation is. It's less about the business. It's more about how it impacts you on the personal side, because the business is going to pay you anyway. It's just how. It's still money leaving the business, but how it arrives to you personally can have a big impact on what you have left in your pocket at the end of the day, if you can pay a little less in taxes, like a dividend, as opposed to, or management fees. Sometimes people take them out as management fees. And so your accountant would know best, because they know both your business, hopefully, and your personal situation. So they should be able to balance it off. Some of the best things that I see out in the world are accountants who do a comparison spreadsheet. It's awesome. They do this whole comparison spreadsheet. If you took this much out in dividends, this in salary, here's what your outcome would look like.
That's very helpful.
It is super helpful, and I like it a lot.
Okay. So look for an accountant and see if your accountant can do some comparison planning for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. What do you feel or based on your experience, what do you see as the most common mistakes small and medium-sized businesses make, or maybe specific to female entrepreneurs, when they're trying to figure out their financial planning?
Right. There's probably a couple. Not asking for help soon enough is one of them. Like, I think as entrepreneurs, naturally, we try and do a lot of stuff for ourselves. And I get it. Like, that's just our personality trait in many cases. And it's hard to ask for help, especially if you don't have a strong confidence in your knowledge about a certain thing. Like, you might need the help, but you don't really want to admit that you don't really know much about whatever it is. So getting over that is hard. And I would say getting the help that you need, building the team around you. It takes time to figure out who your right people are to give you the advice that you need for your personal and your business life. So I would say that's the first thing. The other thing, and this is probably more specific to like female entrepreneurs, we don't use debt as a tool to help us grow our businesses nearly as much as our male counterparts do. And I feel like it's a financial tool. I know we don't love to be in debt, but when you buy a house, you don't usually put all your money into the house. You'll usually get a mortgage and let the bank help you.
Right.
And then you'll pay it off over a period of time. And that seems to be an acceptable debt that we all understand and know. And I mean, it's not acceptable this day and age. The rates and the payments are high, but we're used to it. We kind of need to think the same way about our businesses. Like, the money that we have, you might be able to leverage it more if there's another way that you can help fund growth in your business, or you might be able to grow your business a little more quickly. I just think we're too afraid of figuring out how to use financing as a tool to help us grow. And I would say don't be afraid of that. At least explore it. It depends what your business is and what you're looking for, but don't always just think you have to use your own money. There's other ways to grow businesses, investors and debt and like loans. And there's so many other ways that you can do it. So just be open to those other options.
I think that's an amazing analogy. Actually, I have never heard it said so simply in a way that almost everybody can understand. If you're going to go buy a house, you go and you get a mortgage. You put down a little down payment, you get a 30-year amortized mortgage. And then it gives you time to pay that off.
Exactly. While you do your thing.
For business, right? You get put a little bit down, or there's some collateral. You say, here's my.
You got to have some skin in the game, as they say.
Let me know the difference. I need a mortgage on my business, please. And that's a wonderful way to actually break it down simply, which is why people would go get investors or support or loans.
Yeah, exactly. And there's tons of that can take form in a bunch of different ways. I just think that we're a bit afraid to do that. And we just try and do so much with what we have. And maybe it's a lot, but maybe it's not. And you don't have what you need to hit that next level. And I think exploring some of those other options is important.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you so much for that. What's one key thing that you think every single founder should do right now, today, in order to set themselves up for long-term financial success?
Evaluate your team. The one thing you should do is make sure you have the right people around you to help you be successful. You don't have to do this whole thing alone. It's too hard. We don't know all the things. I don't know all the things about aspects of running a business. So there's people that I will bring in to help me with those. So I know a lot of like the tax and the investing and all of that kind of thing. So I can help with that. But there's a whole bunch of other things layered on. Like, I have HR professionals that I'll talk to when we're bringing on new employees. I don't know how to do an employment contract. Like, I mean, I guess ChatGPT could write one for me these days, but I don't think that's advice. So I think building a team around you, focus on the things that you do best. Make sure your time is freed up to do those almost all day long if you can swing it. And don't be afraid to either delegate or ask for business or ask for help or just create that team, that support team around you.
I would also say, just going back to something that you said earlier about ask for help.
Yes.
It's okay, guys, if you don't know the terminology. It is okay if you are not yet financially literate. It is okay if you don't even know what questions to ask yet. Just start having conversations with people, whether it's with your banker, other entrepreneurs, Tracey Lundell. We've got some wonderful people in our Athena collective.
Through the collective, like, there's so many great resources and webinars, and like, don't be afraid to, even if you're just going to be a fly on the wall and soak it all in at the beginning until you kind of figure out what it is that you might need. Sometimes you don't even know what you don't know. You don't even know what you might need. So just try and be a little sponge and soak it all up in all that spare time that entrepreneurs have.
But it's a worthy investment.
It is
Right?
a worthy
We have to
investment.
know some of these things. And if you go
Mhm.
back to the beginning, which was if we're not planning properly, if we're not
Yes.
tax efficient, if we don't have a strategy, if we don't have an exit strategy, we are bleeding money off the back end and don't know it. We are
Yes.
wasting our cash. We are wasting our wealth because we just are not dedicating that time to learn and
It's
understand.
filling a bathtub without having the plug in.
Yes. Great analogy. You're my
I
analogy
know.
person today.
I'm
Look at you
full of
go.
analogies today, but it kind of is, right? Like, think of the energy that goes into that, and yet it's all draining out the, not all, but a
Yeah.
bunch of it is draining out the bottom. Put the
Because
plug in.
here we are, we're like the duck above the water and our feet are going like this, but we actually don't
Yeah.
be doing it because we're wasting as we go.
Yeah.
So here we are burning out, we're in overwhelm. But if we slow down enough to be like,
Hmm.
okay, hold on, what actually, how do I work smarter, not harder?
Take a big picture. Take a big
Yeah.
picture view. I
Look
call it
at
the
the
blue
team
sky.
around you.
The blue
Right.
sky perspective. Get up in the sky every now and then and take a
Yes.
minute to just, and I don't mean like once a year. I actually think that that's something, I know people who do it daily. I do it once a week. Once a week as a team, we take a kind of blue sky approach, the big picture view to go, okay, how are we doing on the big picture, like the strategy side of things and the actual execution of those
Mhm.
strategies, whether we're the ones doing the
Mhm.
execution or not. Just check in on that kind of stuff, because you're right. You paddle like crazy and sometimes you just aren't getting super far. And it could be because of that.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
Yeah.
going to ask a couple more questions. Unfortunately, we might need to schedule a part two because I think we have a lot to talk about, which
We
is
have
great.
a lot.
We
Yeah.
do. But I'm going to ask you a couple more questions because we're
Sure.
at time for this one. But question number one, how do you think founders should think about retirement planning when all of their eggs are in their business basket?
Hmm.
Let's
Okay.
actually start there. What do we do if all of our eggs are in our business basket and we need to think about retirement?
So, wow, that's a big question. It's not bad that all your eggs are in the business basket. Ideally, I would have liked for you to have a little bit in your own personal basket, but if you haven't, then it's just kind of planning moving forward to that. So we always say that if you're thinking of selling your business, that 3 to 5 years before you're going to do it, that's the sweet spot. Like,
Mm.
if you haven't been doing all the way along, kind of doing the correlated investing on the personal side and the business side, that 3 to 5 years, that's your opportunity to kind of structure some things that gives you the opportunity to either sell your business at the best possible price, get the right team around you for that aspect of things, do the planning that you need to do on a, there is tax planning to do. If you've put all of your eggs in your business, there's definitely something you need, there's planning that needs to happen before you actually do it. Um,
So
like
call
pull the
you.
trigger and actually sell the business. Get that all sorted out first, because there's ways that you can plan for it that will help, again, keep more money in your pocket when you're no longer, maybe you're not part of the business at all, maybe you're selling it entirely, maybe you have a foot in the door, but even how that's structured can impact your decisions. So I'd say 3 is a very tight timeline, 5 is even better. So if you're 3 to 5 years from maybe thinking that you're going to sell your business, get the planning in place now for
So
it.
planning in place, team in place.
Team in place.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
get your all of your numbers buttoned up, whether that's with your account,
Exactly.
your taxes, or whatever. But you got to
Get
get your
all your ducks in a row.
yeah. Fair enough. Okay,
Yep.
we'll end this particular podcast with one piece of advice for businesses as they think about exiting in the future. You had already
Hmm.
mentioned build the right team, have your tax planning done, but
Yep.
do you have a piece of advice for anybody who wants to think about exiting or succession planning in the future?
Think about what's next, because I think we, especially as business owners, our businesses are our babies. We put a lot of thought into it. It keeps us up at night in the same way. Like we kind of live and breathe it for a very long time. And when that's gone, it's actually a big adjustment. So this isn't even a financial thing. This is more of a like well-being,
Yeah.
mental health kind of thing. Figure out what you're going to be doing next, like especially if it's a full departure. I think that that's a really important element. Not that you have to lock it down entirely, but don't like just get so enwrapped in the whole selling process that you don't think, okay, now it's done and you're just left.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's a really hard adjustment for a lot of people. So I would say that, because the team is getting you ready for it, right? All the planning, all the team, and then the plan is happening. Once that's all done, there's a lot less going on. So it's a matter of thinking what you want to do now. That needs to be part of the plan, is the what happens after, not just leading up to the selling is not the end event.
Yeah, it's not
The
the
living after it is.
exactly. It's not the end of your life.
That's what you want to dream about.
Yeah,
So like have good plans, have good
yeah.
dreams
Have
for the
good
after.
dreams. I love that. And I can personally relate to that because when I exited all inclusive marketing, which was 15 years of my life, I was like, oh my gosh, now what? Like when I
Now
actually
what?
had officially stopped, I was like, I actually felt a bit of a gaping hole. I was like, what?
Yes.
Who am I now? Like, what even am I? What do I do now?
I know
And
it's hard to define yourself when
totally,
you've done it for so long in relation to something else, or your daily use, people needing you,
yeah,
right? Like it's all like, oh boy, now what do I do? How do I get through the day and fill my time? But you
yeah,
figure it out. But if you can
yeah.
have some dreams ahead of time, that
It's,
is certainly much more helpful in
yeah.
transitioning to the post successful career cell or successful business cell than not having those dreams in place.
Love it. Well, thank you, Tracey. Love chatting with you. Every time I talk to you, I get super pumped up. I always learn a bunch of stuff. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us and being here.
Thank
Um,
you for
can
having
you
me.
tell us, just as we wrap up, who should contact you? How do they contact you?
Um, Gosh, anybody can contact me. I feel like I'm not alone. The Seaglass team that includes a whole pile of people who all do wonderful things, but everybody has slightly different focus. So I don't think there's anybody in particular that needs to call or not call. But if you would like to talk about those sorts of things, seaglasswealth.com is our website. All of us, all the advisors are listed on there. And we all kind of do different things, but reach out to any one of us and we'll make sure that you're in the right spot for whatever it is that you need in the conversations that you need to have. We all care so much about individuals, and like our clients are our family. So we're very happy to have a conversation with just about anyone.
I appreciate that. And actually,
Yes.
if I was listening, I can attest to that because the reason we met is I actually became your Seaglass's client. And
Yes.
I work with your team, and you guys have been wonderful for my family and our wealth development and growth. And then you became a wonderful supporter of Athena Collective, our business as well. And then there's a whole big ecosystem that has sort of happened in Greater
It
Vancouver.
is. It's
And you
wonderful.
literally love on people all day long, and we all feel like family, and you take great care of us. So
We really do. And good. Thank you for all of that. But yeah, and we're so happy to be a part of Athena. We love the work that's being done here, and we can't do all of this stuff. We need a good network of people who do all sorts of things because and we all do. Everybody is part of the Athena Collective do as well. So it's great that we all know each other and are here to support one another.
appreciate you. Well, thank you for being on the show. Thank you to our listeners, and we will see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the For Female Founders podcast series. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe, like, or comment below so we can continue to support women in business by helping them thrive, not just survive. We'll see you on the next show.